Very good. Okay, this is the parsha of the week, Parshas Matot, and we are talking about the war that the Jewish people made against Midian, and they won. They won. They won the war, and they took a lot of prisoners, and that got into trouble. Now we're getting into problems. They took a lot of money and etc. Now, eventually, Moshe is going to tell the soldiers to take all of the spoils of war, and that the soldiers get half, and the rest of the Jewish people, they get the other half. So let's see. So it says, last time we talked about that the kings of Midian, the Jewish people killed. And they took all of the spoils of the war and all of the sheep and everything from people and the prisoners and the animals. And they brought it to Moshe and to Elazar HaKohen. Elazar is now in place of Aaron, right? Aaron HaKohen. He died on Har Nevo. This is, he died 8 months or something before the Jewish people came into the land of Israel, which we talked about this before. The only exact date that someone, biblical character, died is Aaron HaKohen. He died, and when was it? The first day of Av. We'll talk about that in the Sikh, the Devar Malchut that we're learning in the morning. Anyway, so meantime, the Jews won the war. No one was killed on the Jewish side, and Moshe and Elazar HaKohen, and even though the Jews were vastly outnumbered, but they went with the commandment of God, and it says, Shluchim mitzvot enu nizakim. A person who is doing a commandment is never damaged. That's what it says. Doesn't have to worry about damage. And Moses only took 12,000 people, because those were the only ones that were not involved in the sin with the daughters of Midian. Nevertheless, they won, and they took all of everything, and they brought it back to Shel al-Machane, to the camp, which was Yarden Yerecho. That was the last camp. Now Moshe and Elazar came out, and all of the leaders of the congregation to the Machane. They came back with this tremendous victory, and Moses got very angry. Al Pekudei HaChayil, he got angry on the generals and on the heads of the thousands and the heads of the hundreds that came back from the war. Rashi explains it, the Mamunim. These are the ones that were appointed, the officers over the army. This comes to teach you that anytime that something happens in the generation, the blame can be put on the leaders. The leaders have the power to stop. So anything that happens bad, if there's sins, then don't point your finger at someone else. Point only at yourself. The leaders of the generation, and there's the people who know better, they're supposed to reprove the ones that don't know anymore. What was the sin? What did they do? What did they do wrong? They won. Moshe said, Hachiyitem called Nekeva, you left all the women. You brought back women prisoners. I don't believe it. The whole reason we're fighting this war against the Midianite is because they sent out their women to draw us into licentiousness and into idolatry. It says that each one had a little idol around this neck, every lady, Midianite lady, and they said, you want me to do what you want? Then you do what I want. Bow down to this idol. And the Jewish men did it. He said, you brought back these women? Hey, Mayu Livnei Yisrael b'davar Bilam. They were to the Jewish people because of Bilam, Limesor Mal b'Yisrael. We'll see what this means, Limesor Mal. It was to make a sin on the Jewish people because of Peor. The name of their idol was called Baal Peor. And was a pretty stupid idol, the fact of the matter is, but everybody, they really went for it. I mean, it was a big hit back then. People would go to the bathroom They would defecate in front of this idol. And there was a tremendous megefa in front. There was a tremendous plague on the Jewish people. Said Rashi, Magi chayu makirin otan, that you could tell which women were attached to which men. Zuhi shenichshel palonibo. They said this is the one that Shlomo had relationship. This is the one that made Zalman do a sin. B'davar Bilam, it said even if you machnisim. Bilam said, even if you. Bilam told the Midianites and the Moabites also, even if you bring all of the armies in the world, you'll never defeat the Jews. Why? Shema Merubim Atem, Mitzrim, you're going to have more soldiers against the Jews than the Egyptians did. The Egyptians, they had 600 chosen chariots, and the Jews had absolutely nothing. So you're not going to defeat the Jews with numbers. I'm going to give you advice. The God of the Jews hates sexual crimes. Sexual kidisa, like it says in the Sanhedrin, etc., in the Sifri and the Midrash. Vata, now, says Moshe, kill all of the men of the children and all women that had relations with a man, kill them. That's what Moshe said. Rashi, what does it mean, kill all the women that had relations with men? Ru'uya liba'el, that were able to have sexual relations, even though they didn't have sexual relations. How did you know which women are able to have sexual relations or not? What they made medical checks on all the ladies, on all the females. V'lifnei tzitz havirum, they brought them, Eliezer, the Kohen, put this golden plate on his head that had God's name written on it, called the tzitz, and they passed all the women in front of Ruim Labal, Panea Marokas, the ones that were capable of having sexual relationships, their faces became sort of like greenish. Okay, so here it says what? Now, what is it? Again. Now, kill all the males of the children. What about the females? Any woman that knows that has had relations with a man, kill. Again, kill. What do you mean kill? Kill. Why twice? And all of the children and the women that were not able to have relations with men, keep them alive. Okay, what does it mean keep them alive? Okay, now who's supposed to be kept alive over here? 1 second. It says kill all the males and the children, and let's take this word kill out of here. It should say just now kill all the males and all the females that had relations with men. Right? And all the children in the womb, that all the children and all of the female children you can let live. So now we got a question, once again. If we would leave this word kill out, so we would have a question. It says, kill all the males. Okay, that's number one. There was the males. Then there were the young girls. And then there were the young girls that could have sexual relationships and the young girls that couldn't have sexual relationships. Okay, so it doesn't say, let's take out this word harogu again. Take it out, because it's extra. It seems to be extra, right? It says now, kill all the males and all the women that have had relations with men or could have relations with men. It says kill them, right? And all of the young girls that didn't have relationships, that couldn't have sexual relationships, let them live. Why do you have to have the second time horogu? So it says the reason is because if you didn't have the second time horogu, you wouldn't know what to do with this middle class. You have three classes: males, young girls that could have relations, and young girls that couldn't have relations. The young men, it says to kill. The young women that couldn't have relations, it says to keep alive. What about the ones in the middle? Right? Says this, kill all the males and the females that could have relations. Or maybe this goes, and all of the females that could have relations and the young women that couldn't have relations, right? Keep them alive. So it says, therefore, it has to say the word hargu to tell you that it goes with the first, they go with the first category. In other words, the only ones that will be left alive from all of the people and that they took present would be young girls that were too young to have sexual relations. You have to remember, those by the non-Jews generally, especially back then, as women, when they were after 3 years old, it was pretty sure that they had relations with someone. That's the way it was, and you see that it was no problem for them to just sort of loose their daughters on the Jews in order to. Okay, so it says all of the young girls that did not have any relations with men, you should let them live. What does it mean, let them live? Perish yegairu otam, convert them. Then they will be called alive, because then they could get married if they wanted to Jewish men. Okay, now anyone who was outside of the camp, who killed anybody, or touched someone, touched the dead body, kol hanogea b'chalal, anyone who touched the dead body. Again, anyone who killed someone or anyone who touched the dead body should be sprinkled with the water of the red cow. On the third day and on the seventh day, you and your the prisoners that you took, whichever prisoners that you took, they should all be sprinkled with the waters. Let's see what this means. Rashi: anyone who killed someone has to go outside of the camp. Shalo yikansu Ezra. You're not allowed to come into the temple, the tabernacle, even in the outer court of the tabernacle. Kol horeg nefesh, anyone who killed someone. Rabbi Meir says it's talking about if you killed someone with a weapon that can receive impurity. Not if you killed somebody with an arrow or something, you didn't have any contact with the person. The Madhaka comes to tell you that a vessel, if you kill someone with a vessel, that vessel, if you're touching the vessel while that vessel is touching the dead body, it's joined, then it's as though you touch the dead body itself. That's the law. Or, no, so 1 second, maybe it might mean that even if you shoot a arrow and kill somebody, you also become impure. I mean, the law doesn't make any sense anyway about becoming impure. So he says, no, the law is called nogea b'chalal. Makish, it connects what it says over here about touching the dead body, just as touching the dead body means you have to touch him, even if you didn't kill him, even if somebody else killed him. As also the same thing, the vessel, you're touching the vessel, even though the vessel itself is not dead, it's just touching a dead body. So if you touch a dead body with, nobody, doesn't make any difference who killed it, you touch the dead body with a vessel, a sword, a hatchet or something, a mace, something that kills, that will become impure, as that makes you impure. So you have to do techatau b'mei with the waters of the red cow, like laws of other impure dead people. Okay, now you can ask a question. I mean, I'm asking the question in any case. Where in the world did they get a red cow coming out of the desert? Where did they get one? So it says that Moses made one. Moshe made the first red cow. Somehow or other he got a hold of a purely red cow, and he made the first red cow. And that's why it's called, when God told him to make it, he gave him the commandment, so he made the first red cow. And in fact, those ashes from that red cow of Moshe were used together with all the ashes. They took it in Israel. It was always mixed with all the other 8 ashes of red cows that were made in the future generations, and there's going to be 10. The last one is going to make the Mashiach will make. She'ab b'davar ha'omrim kivrei ovdi kachavim eino metamim ba'ohel. It says a non-Jew is impure, almost the same thing as a Jew is. If you touch a Jewish dead body, then you become impure. You can never go into the temple for the rest of your life unless you get sprinkled with the ashes of the red cow on the third day. You count 2 days, and the third day and the seventh day you get sprinkled. Well, if you touch a dead body, and what's the difference between a Jew? A Jewish dead body will make another Jew impure even in a tent. If you happen to be in a tent or in a building where there's a Jewish body, even if you don't touch it, that makes you impure. Only a Jewish body, but not Jewish body, not. Okay. It says, you and your prisoners, not that the non-Jews received impurity, and they have to be sprinkled. Not so. A non-Jew does not receive impurity. If a non-Jew touches a dead body or whatever, and then you touch that non-Jew, right, that touched the dead body, you don't become impure. Elamatem b'nei brit, av shvichem kishevo lebrit yitamo. It means your prisoners means once they convert, or once they become your servants, right? Or you circumcise them and they become officially your servants. So they're not like 100% Jews, but they're enough Jews that they're enough Jewish that they do receive impurity. Also, any garment, etc., etc. Okay, now here we have an interesting thing that Elazar HaKohen said to the people of the army. They came back from the war. These are the laws that God commanded you. Okay, Elazar Kohen is now going to give a whole new set of laws to the people that come back. We had the laws, and Moses just gave the laws of anyone who touched a dead body or came in contact with a dead body, as that person has to have the red cow ashes sprinkled on him on the third day. And now up to now, Moses has been telling all the laws, right? All the laws. All of a sudden, Elazar comes and he tells the laws. How is Elazar, the Kohen, Aaron's brother, Aaron's son, he pops up and starts telling the laws? Where did he get the thing that he's telling laws? Why? So Rashi explains, Lefisha bo Moshe leklal klas, because Moshe got angry at the soldiers. They brought back the women. Therefore, he made a mistake. And he didn't. Suddenly, he forgot all the laws of how to kosher vessels, called giuli nachrim. The giul means to spit out, spitting out the taste from vessels. Also, you find another place, because Moshe got angry, so he also he got angry. Because he got angry, so therefore he made a mistake. And so it is on other places. Wherever Moshe got angry, he struck the rock, for instance, because of anger, and etc. Lubavitcher Rebbe asked a little question about this, but first of all, let me just explain the laws. Okay, what are the laws of a vessel? This is especially relevant. We have a lot of people before Passover, they kosher their vessels. And nowadays it's also a lot of people, they do tshuva. They decide they're going to become religious, so they kosher their vessels. The laws of making vessels kosher is a little bit complicated, but I'll just tell you the laws in 3 minutes, maybe 3.5 minutes. The law goes like this. There's in Judaism, there's a lot of foods that are forbidden. A lot of foods that are forbidden to eat. And a lot of foods are forbidden even if you cook them in the wrong way. For instance, anybody a Jew, God forbid, cooks food on Shabbat, that food is forbidden. You're not allowed to eat that food. If the Jew cooked that food on purpose, then that vessel that food is forbidden for him forever. Well, Judaism also says another thing. Not only is the food forbidden, but also the taste of the food is forbidden. How can there be taste without having a thing? For instance, let's say you boiled a rabbit in water, and then you strained out the water, so there's absolutely no rabbit and no fat or anything in that water. The water is forbidden. Unless there's 60 times water against that rabbit, the water is forbidden because it has the taste. Okay, where this is really relevant to us is in vessels. Let's say a person used vessels to cook milk, and then afterwards, the same vessels, he cooked meat, right? Very, very common. Nothing wrong with cooking meat. Nothing wrong with cooking milk. Nothing wrong with it. But you can't do it in the same vessel. Why? Because the food leaves the taste in the walls of the vessel. That's what it says in Judaism. Leaves the taste in the walls of the vessel. And if you cook milk and you cook meat, you can never use that vessel again. Never. The law is that if you made a mistake and you did use that vessel more than one day after the last time it was used, then that's called b'diavad. Then, okay, you can say that the food is okay because it's a bad taste. But let's not talk about that. We're just talking about simple law. Now, here the Jews came back and they have all these vessels that they brought from the non-Jews. All these vessels, golden vessels, silver vessels, copper vessels. And all of them, the non-Jews from Midian, they cooked in there their rabbits and their squirrels and whatever, monkeys, who knows what they ate. All this not kosher food. And even if they cooked cow and they cooked this, they didn't slaughter the animals properly. The food is nevela. It wasn't slaughtered properly. It's called the nevela. So therefore, all of these vessels have the taste of this forbidden food in the walls. Now you got to get it. You have to make it spit out. That's called giul. Giul and nachur, making it spit out, making the vessel spit out. How do you make it spit out? So here we go. So it says, you brought back these vessels. You want to use them to cook, to use it in your this. They're dividing all the spoils of the war up 50-50. The soldiers get 50. The 12,000 soldiers, they get 50. And the rest of the Jewish people, they get the other 50%. And there was a lot they brought back. Who knows how many were in the Midian army? How many they defeated? 100,000, 200,000. Anyway, they got everything. They took over their cities. They destroyed everything. So it says, okay, you want to use these vessels? If the vessel is gold, if it's silver, if it's nechosh, if it is copper, if it's barzel, if it's iron, at the badil, if it is tin, at ophoret, I think was mercury. I don't know. How do you translate it for? Anyway, some other metal substance. Lead. Any vessels that are made of any type of metal. Anything that the non-Jews used it in fire. They roasted on their spare ribs from cows and from pigs and cows, things that were not kosher. If they used it directly with fire, then how do you spit out the bad taste? By fire. Taviru b'aish. And it'll be pure. But because you took it from the non-Jews and it probably became impure with death, so you also have to sprinkle it with the third and the seventh day, with the ashes of the golden calf. Anything that was not used in fire, then you can boil it in water. Right? Everything was boiled in water. And also, you should also purify your garments, and etc. That's the whole laws of koshering the food. So the question was asked, what does it mean that Moses it says he made a mistake? Because he got angry, so he made a mistake. And because he made a mistake, so therefore the law was that what mistake did Moses made? So the Rebbe said, at first glance, this is not right. It should say that because Moses got angry, he forgot. He made a mistake. He didn't make a mistake. He forgot all the laws of how to make a vessel's kosher. So the Rebbe answers, no, he didn't forget. He didn't forget the laws. He made a mistake. What was the mistake? Moses, because he got angry, so he thought that if you sprinkle vessels of the non-Jews on the third day, on the seventh day, and you get rid of the impurity of death, so the impurity of death is much more severe than a forbidden taste. So he thought that if you get rid of this impurity of death, that this also will purify the vessel from a bad taste. And that was the mistake that he made. It's not so. It doesn't work that way. Okay. That's what he thought. All right, then we have a long, long computation of how much they took back, how much there was, how divided into half, and what everyone gets their half. How much, and we have all this computations and numbers and all this. Let's just start this, and I want to learn to go over the. Yesterday, for some reason, it didn't record the laws of the Holy Temple. Let's go. Mikne Rav haya levnei Ruvain levnei Gad. There were 12 tribes, right? One of the tribes was Reuven, another one was Gad. And they saw the land of Yezer and the land of Gilad. Moses, after he conquered the land of Sichon and the land of Og, before they went into the land of Israel. It's called Ohr HaChaim. But so they saw this place was very, very beautiful, and they had a lot of, and it was a place of grazing, and they had a lot of flocks. And Bnei Gad and Bnei Reuven, they said to Moshe and to Elazar Kohen, and they said, "Listen, we want to stay here, and we're going to learn this tomorrow." And Moshe got tremendously angry. Said, "What? That's the same thing that the spies did. They didn't want to go into the land of Israel. You're going to make everybody weak-hearted." And Moses really gave it to them. And then they said, "No, Moses, you didn't let us finish. That's not our intention. We'll go in and fight with everybody. And we won't take a portion in the land of Israel. We'll not take our portion," said Reuven and Gad, and we're going to see half of the tribe of Manasseh. How they got in there, we'll talk about tomorrow. Reuven and Gad said, "We'll go and fight with everybody in land of Israel, and we will defeat the kings of Israel." It says there were 30 kings in Israel, 32 kings in Israel. "And we'll defeat all those nations in Israel, and especially the 5 nations. We'll take over their lands, and we won't take any of those lands. We don't want it. We want to go over here." And Moses said, "Oh, I didn't understand that." Okay, we're going to learn this, God willing, tomorrow. And we're also going to talk about the 42 journeys that the Jews took in the desert. But now, let's finish this, and we'll go, God willing, to learn a little bit about the Mesa Mikdash, the Holy Temple.